Welcome back to Director's Choice. Disney princesses follow a template-like storyline of castles, rescues, and songs. But there are a few exclusions to the status quo. Here we have a Disney princess who was not a princess. Well, not in the true sense of the word anyway. Moana is next-in-line chief of her village, with no castle or carriage in sight, just the island of Motunui that is surrounded by a beautiful ocean. Moana is the 12th official Disney princess.
I know everybody on this island has a role on this island.
But she is the second original character not based on a pre-existing literature. This originality is one of the reasons why Moana is widely loved by viewers across the world. But there is also the appealing aspect of her life story. And in this episode of Director's Choice, we are taking a deep dive into the life of Moana, from a curious toddler to a confused teenager. Moana has to take on life with so many responsibilities, some of which pull her in opposite directions. What challenges does Moana overcome as she tries to fulfill her destiny? How does she find new meaning to her identity? Which failures and successes help to determine her life's course? Keep watching and ride this wave with us as we take you from Motunui across Oceania to the shores of Te Fiti. Here is the life of Moana.
Make way, Moana, it's time you knew.
Moana is the daughter and only child of the chief of Motunui village. She was a free-spirited child, but the villagers accorded her the due regard as the daughter of the chief. Irrespective of her somewhat high social status, Moana was very playful and warm towards others, always willing to render help when needed. Everyone loved her, and she always bore a smile. Moana was raised with the love of her family and her community, but she had a special relationship with her grandmother, Grandma Tala. Her grandmother is highly eccentric and in tune with the spirit of the ocean, so she raised Moana to believe in most of the superstitions about their village. While the other children were wary and scared of the horrors of Grandma Tala's stories about the lava demon Taka, Moana was intrigued. As a toddler, Moana was captivated by the story of how Maui, the demigod, stole the heart of Te Fiti and led to the slow-burning darkness of the world. When Grandma Tala shared the story, her peers got scared, but Moana's interest in restoring brightness and life to the world was piqued, especially when her grandmother emphasized that a fearless hero was the only hope for humanity. Along with her passion for adventure, Moana was also very interested in exploring the ocean. As a young child, she would often waddle to the shores to play in the water, and she developed a bond with the ocean when she helped a baby sea turtle get back into the water. At that moment, the ocean chooses Moana as the heroine to save the world because of the purity of her heart, unknown to the young child. Meanwhile, her father had enforced laws forbidding anyone to travel past the ocean's reef from the islands, so Moana never got past the shores for all of her childhood. Her father was quick to debase Grandma Tala's tales, and he emphasized that there was no darkness consuming the world and that the stories were only fictions of the eccentric old woman's imagination. Moana didn't believe her father when she was young, and this disbelief continued to increase as she grew older. Moana's thirst for adventure was a form of wanderlust in disguise. Moana's life as the chief's daughter was a bit structured. There were expectations she had to meet up with, and while she didn't have an actual problem with her responsibilities, Moana couldn't ignore the pull of the ocean. Moana couldn't ignore the pull of the ocean. From her days as a young child wandering about the island, Moana couldn't stay in one place for too long. She was rarely idle, and could be found pitching in around the village or getting up to some well-intended mischief. Her eccentric nature was in resemblance to her grandmother, who encouraged most of Moana's antics. When the ocean chose Moana as the heroine to save the world, she was too young to understand the importance, and she ended up leaving the heart of Te Fiti behind, and it got sent back to the ocean. However, as she grew older, the pull became stronger and, ultimately, inevitable. Before she ventured into the adventures that would change her life and all of humanity, Moana attempted some adventures that didn't work out as planned. Instead, while nursing her thirst for adventure, Moana started her training to become the next chief of the village. Before she began her training, her father took her to the sacred high mountain on their island, where past chiefs had placed stones to symbolize the beginning of their tenure as leaders in the village. That moment beckoned to a more responsible side of Moana. Though she still longed for the ocean and all it held for her, For the most part, she embraced the duties and responsibilities, happy to make her family proud. The villagers accepted her and encouraged her as she grew up, though they were mostly amused by her. Moana did all she could do to follow her parents' footsteps, and she stuck with the teachings of her father, though she disagreed with some of his principles. However, when disaster struck Motunui Island, Moana had to pick up the mantle and go against her father. When the people of Motunui began to experience scarcity of food and resources, it broke Moana's heart. As a chief in training, she knew it was her responsibility to find the best way to help her people. And for Moana, that was to explore beyond the reef. But her father, the current chief, was against the idea, so much that such action was completely forbidden. Moana began to experience an identity crisis and a conflict of interests. On one hand, she was deeply convinced that the solution to their problems lay beyond the reef. But on the other, she knew that to be a true leader, she had to listen to those before her, aka her father. Eventually, she set out on her own to explore the reef, but her first attempt was a terrible failure, as she had no experience with navigating the ocean. Feeling disappointed in herself, Moana retreated to the village amidst the dwindling situation. But Grandma Tala rekindled her passion and hope by taking her to the cave that held the truth about her ancestors who had been voyagers. The fact that her ancestors had explored the depths and breadths of the ocean made Moana recognize her hunger for adventure as a connection with her origins. Tala also showed her the heart of Te Fiti that the ocean had given Moana when she was a young girl, and this convinces Moana that she is the chosen one. With newfound energy and motivation, Moana sought out once again, and this time she had two missions. Firstly, she wanted to prove her father wrong about the abundance of good things beyond the reef, and she also wanted to restore the heart of Te Fiti and help the world escape the darkness. And to do these things, Moana needed to enlist the help of the demigod, who had started the whole situation centuries before when he stole the heart of Te Fiti. Moana needed to find Maui. Moana was 16 when she went on the mission to fulfill her destiny as the heroine to restore hope for humanity. But first, she had to find Maui and convince him to return the heart of Te Fiti. While making her way across the ocean to find Maui, Moana experienced several moments of self-doubt, but the ocean reassures her and helps her navigate her way. Moana finds Maui and manages to convince him by promising to help him retrieve his fishhook, which she successfully does. Moana and Maui head over to the shores of Te Fiti. In the time between her finding Maui and their travel at Te Fiti shores, Moana is faced with several moments where she feels unqualified to carry out the mission and restore the heart of Te Fiti, to the point where she almost turns back home. However, seeing Maui, as strong and capable as he seemed, helped her put her situation into perspective. Moana realized that her weakness and lack didn't take away from her strength and ability, and this newfound assurance spurred her on. For most of their adventure, Moana was the one who was saving Maui despite his strong outlook. When they finally arrive at Te Fiti shores and realize that the lava demon was actually Taka, she calms her down with her singing. Moana then successfully restores Te Fiti's heart, bringing bliss and prosperity back to Earth as she headed back to Motunui. The whole adventure helped Moana find the confidence she needed to take on her intended role as the chief of her village. Despite her shortcomings and challenges, she never backed down, and those qualities define Moana as a true leader. Moana is one of the few Disney princesses who doesn't have a love interest or needs saving. She handles her problems head-on, but she is not resistant to having help. Moana is eager to learn and make accommodations for new experiences, especially with her thirst for adventure. Moana's life was symbolic in ushering her people into a new age, with a more comfortable lifestyle. Not only did she protect and provide for her village, like a true chief and leader, she also made sure that the rest of the world wasn't suffering. Despite the obvious limitations, she went as far as restoring peace and prosperity for all of humanity. A true heroine with a pure heart and a commitment to achieving goals, Moana is the perfect source of inspiration for anyone feeling down on their luck. She wasn't very good at a lot of things, but she found strength in her determination and willingness to succeed. Nonetheless, she never let her down moments keep her down. Sometimes, when life gets too complex or hard, take a step back, sing, dance, and you're welcome. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us on the breakdown of the life of Moana.
You know, it'd be rude to...
Gonna miss you, drumstick.
Oh!
Take a look at this other recent clip by Director's Choice, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of our latest videos.